This footage, taken in Russia in late August of 1941, fits in nicely with today's material. The Dresden-mounted Armed Reconnaissance Squad heads out to ensure the security of the rail line. Obstacles and explosives are discovered and removed by the team. More of this footage can be seen at the end of this video. This is a beautiful collection from the commander and future Knights Cross holder Rudolf Zettler of German Panzerzug 3, or Armored Train No. 3. It includes a combat experience report covering its participation in the invasion of Poland in September of 1939. It also includes an experience report covering the training of the assault troops, the train's technical capabilities, a detailed description of its weaponry, and finally the commander's overall impression of the use of such armored trains by the Wehrmacht moving forwards. Today we'll be looking at how the assault team was trained and prepared for active duty. In addition, we'll be looking at a nice article from a Die Wehrmacht periodical that fits in nicely, so stick around, it's worth it. These old originals are beautiful. I love the look of the aged paper, the stains from the rusted paper clips or staples. These are valuable and often unique historical treasures that need to be treated carefully. I do suffer handling them because they're delicate and tear or even disintegrate easily. Let's look at the report. Erfahrungsbericht. Eisenbahn Panzerzug 3. Nummer 1. Aufstellung. Die Gefechtsbesatzung des Eisenbahns Panzerzugs. Most of the assault troops that initially served on Armored Train 3 came from the 7th Infantry Division. Organization for the Polish campaign had already begun on July 5th of 1939 and was taking place in Munich, which was considered the armored train's base. Everyone involved continued their preparations at a feverish pace, often in confined spaces and in the dark. Finally, on the 19th of August, the armored train moved out to take part in the campaign. Since the special training that was needed for the mounted assault troops could not be effectively achieved on a non-moving train, during the second half of the training, it was absolutely necessary to include the technical crew. Only through the constant experience of operating on a moving train could the soldiers get used to the difficult observation and targeting conditions. In addition, at the end of the training, sharpshooting exercises had been planned, which were intended to give the soldiers practical experience with their weapons related to aiming and understanding the effect that their fire could expect. Neither of these goals were achieved because the train was rushed into service to take part in the occupation of the Sudetenland and then later in the Czech Rump state. Since neither of these operations involved combat, this critical practical weapons experience was never gained. As a side note, that Hungary and Poland took part in the dismemberment of Czechoslovakia is an interesting history which I'll be covering in a future video. If you're interested, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon. Now let's shift gears to the Die Wehrmacht periodical, Ausgabe A, number 14, from July 7th of 1943. Ausgabe A means that it was a kind of special edition that included more color photos and additional content. As you see, the article is about a special custom-made mini-armored train. It's titled, "The Tracks at kilometer 86.9 are blown." Train number 16, carrying soldiers back on leave, was attacked by partisans, which resulted in one badly wounded soldier and 2 lightly wounded. At kilometer 86.9, the tracks were blown. More than once last summer, these kinds of reports came in about interruptions in the line. The band of partisans has been able to consistently disrupt this resupply line in particular. Although the damage had usually been quickly repaired, the continual loss of men and material needed to be stopped. Somewhere along the Eastern Front, a commander issued an order to a vehicle repair station to get together and build an armored vehicle that could travel along the railroad tracks and counter this threat. Using destroyed Soviet trucks, armored plates taken from Soviet tanks, and the turret from a captured armored car, the crew proved their improvisational creativity by putting together a combat-ready vehicle. After a few months of careful consideration and planning by the crew, and another of heavy labor, the so-called Panzer was completed and on the tracks. Over the next few weeks, an assault team was trained which would travel with the combat vehicle and engage the enemy. It would be their responsibility to keep the track open. The first caption reads, "The photo above and to the left show the Panzer Zepp quickly arriving to its area of operation. There, its first responsibility is to make sure that the line is free of damage or obstruction. Traveling inside are Panzergrenadier that are ready to attack any partisans that might be encountered, willing to do what it takes to defend the rail line." To the right, when under fire, the Panzer Zepp stops and the Panzergrenadier leave the vehicle on the side facing away from the enemy, armed with their rifles, machine pistols, and hand grenades. They take cover behind the rail track berm and then, together with the heavy weapons of the Panzer Zepp, engage the enemy. Under the cover of the heavy weapons, the Panzergrenadier work their way forwards and finally storm the position of the partisans. These combat maneuvers are practiced daily until it becomes second nature to the soldiers.